Hi, these are the top 10 films of 2014. When I say top, I mean my personal favourite films. There are loads of great films that year, so there's lots that I've missed off, so please do include your favourite films down below. Cheers. In at number 10, Wild Tales, a marvellously dark anthology movie. This Argentinian-Spanish co-production features 6 dark short films. Each one is full of violence, vengeance and plenty of black comedy. As with any anthology, the quality of them varies, but there are no real duds here, and my personal favourite is one involving 2 drivers in the desert. It has Duel-esque vibes and builds to a marvellously nasty climax. In at number 9, Force Majeure. Ruben Östlund does realistic arguments better than any other director. This whole film is basically one couple's argument over 2 hours. We follow a family on a skiing holiday. You can already see a bit of tension between the husband and wife, but things get really heated when the husband runs away, abandoning his family when it seems an avalanche will hit them. That scene is expertly done, but where Östlund really shines is in the dialogue and tension between the characters. The husband's refusal to admit what he did, as his masculinity is questioned. It's an uncomfortable but riveting watch.
Du gråter på riktigt?
Nej, det kanske jag inte gör. Ebba, kom.
In at number 8, The Grand Budapest Hotel, one of Wes Anderson's best. This visually splendid comedy features an outstanding ensemble cast. At the centre of the film is Ralph Fiennes, concierge of a luxury hotel in a fictional European country sometime in the 1930s. After he is framed for the death of a wealthy regular, he and a lobby boy go on an adventure to get a priceless painting. The visuals, the humour and the tone are all Wes Anderson turned up to 11. He creates an incredibly rich and fun world, but as usual there is a darkness that runs through it. Here, talking about the rise of fascism in Europe in the 1930s. That said, it's a light romp and one that is charming, funny and visually delectable.
She's been murdered, and you think I did it.
Hey! Stop! In at number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy. I've kind of got a little bit bored of MCU films recently, so I've got to try and remember how I felt about these films when they came out at the time. Another MCU film that nearly got into my top 10 was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. The first Guardians of the Galaxy was such a blast in the cinema. James Gunn brought a heavy dose of comedy, pop music classics, and visual flair to the MCU that changed up their game plan entirely. This space opera has energy, humour, and even some genuine real emotions in it. The Guardians themselves are all unique characters and are performed perfectly by the excellent cast. The end is a bit of a CGI clusterfuck for me, but where the film really flourishes is in its characters' interactions. It's laugh out loud funny. The world building is also top notch. This is probably my favourite film in the MCU. I had a ball watching it. And if you had told me back in 2014 that I would only be mildly interested in the release of the 3rd Guardians movie, I wouldn't have believed you.
Who are you?
Star-Lord.
Who?
Well, Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw. Forget it.
In at number 6, Whiplash. I really loved Whiplash, but some people found it a pain in the neck. Ba-dum-dum-bum, Damien Chazelle's film about a young jazz drummer and his abusive instructor is an intense ride. Miles Teller is completely believable as the ambitious drummer, and stealing the show in a scene-stealing part of the instructor is J.K. Simmons with an Oscar-winning performance. Adding to all this is the masterful editing and use of sound. It makes drumming seem as exciting as a shootout. It's astonishing.
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
If you deliberately sabotage my band, I will gut you like a pig.
In at number 5, Leviathan, an incredibly bleak Russian drama. Set in a miserable-looking northern Russian town, the film begins like a sort of western. We follow a drunk homeowner who doesn't want to sell his land to the drunk mayor. A mayor who is buying up land for much lower prices than they are worth. Almost every character in it has a bottle of vodka in their system at the beginning of each scene, giving a feeling that anything could happen. The characters carry grudges and guns, and with all the booze flying about, you know it won't end well. It's genuinely frightening and features superb performances. Especially good is Roman Madianov, who plays one of the great villains of recent years.
Решение суда еще в силу не вступило.
У тебя никогда никаких прав не было! Нет и не будет!
In at number 4, What We Do in the Shadows. One of the funniest comedies of the century so far. Taika Waititi's vampire mockumentary is a laugh a minute.
It's been like this the whole time, Deacon on dishes, and it still hasn't moved in 5 years. You're a cool guy, but you're not pulling your weight in the flat.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that I'm cool.
No, that's not the point, though.
Yeah,
You're missing
no, I
the
know.
point.
Not a
I know.
flat meeting about how cool you are.
We follow a bunch of loser vampire housemates in Wellington.
Viago was an 18th century dandy.
A ghost cop. Vladislav is a bit of a pervert.
This is my torture chamber.
Deacon's like the young bad boy of the group.
I'm supposed to pay rent, but I don't.
It's silly in all the best possible ways, and is my personal favourite Waititi film.
When you're a vampire, you become very sexy.
In at number 3, Nightcrawler, a sort of LA set taxi driver. Much like that film, we get a sense of the city through the eyes of a psychopath. Jake Gyllenhaal plays a violent oddball who becomes a freelance video photographer, filming violent events he encounters while driving around Los Angeles at night. Gyllenhaal, for my money, gives his best performance as the socially awkward madman with no morals at all. The film captures the sprawling city of angels brilliantly, and where better to set a film that deals with people's love for nasty stories and how that leads to unethical journalism. It's a film about voyeurism, about one man's obsession, and about our obsession as a whole to absorb sensationalist content. It's a great looking film, and one that gets under your skin.
We're taking the next right. That's stupid! Repeat the police.
I will never ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
In at number 2, Birdman. Well, the jazz drumming continues in this unique film that revitalised Michael Keaton's career. Keaton, who only had a few more hits after playing Batman, plays an actor who only had a few more hits after playing Birdman. His character here is trying to be taken seriously as an actor by directing and starring in a Broadway production. He's a drunk, a narcissist, an anxious wreck, and Keaton plays it all brilliantly. The supporting cast is also fantastic, including Emma Stone, Andrea Riseborough, and Edward Norton as a notoriously difficult actor in another meta-casting moment. It's appropriate that a film about acting has so much good acting in it. The film was most talked about for being a one-shot film, a gimmick I've never cared too much about. I like long takes, but in these sorts of films I spend my entire time looking for the cuts. What's really brilliant here is the bizarreness, the characters, and the humour. It's about a weak man trying to prove himself, a has-been who's unwilling to admit that his days are numbered, and bringing that great character life is the marvellous Keaton. Thank God he's back.
You are a god.
Hey! Is this for real, or are you shooting a film?
A film!
You people are full of shit!
And in number 1, The Duke of Burgundy. This Peter Strickland film took me totally by surprise. I had seen and really liked his previous movie, Barbarian Sound Studio, but The Duke of Burgundy hypnotised me. Strickland's films are an acquired taste. This dark, erotic, romantic drama is bizarre to say the least. I don't want to say too much about the plot, as there's lots of twists and turns, but it's basically about 2 women involved in a BDSM master-servant relationship. It's twisted, it's sexy, and totally bonkers. Like with all his films, it doesn't really take place in the real world, but the bizarre world he creates is so full of truthful character moments that it drags you in and you completely forget how odd the world is. The 2 leads, it's Babette Knudsen and Chiara De Anna, are marvellous together. They are also incredibly funny, as Strickland never forgets to add comedy no matter how dark his films get. Nick Nolan's cinematography is absolutely stunning, and the score is one of the best of the decade. Strickland is a unique director with such a particular vision, and for me, The Duke of Burgundy is the greatest of his work so far. It's moving, funny, sexy, odd, and takes you to a world both totally familiar and totally alien.
As long as I'm yours, I remain alive.
Right, so counting down my top 10. In at number 10, Wild Tales. In at number 9, Force Majeure. In at number 8, The Grand Budapest Hotel. In at number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy. In at number 6, Whiplash. In at number 5, Leviathan. In at number 4, What We Do in the Shadows. In at number 3, Nightcrawler. In at number 2, Birdman. And in number 1, The Duke of Burgundy. Well, those are my top 10 films of 2014, and there are loads of great films I missed out, so please do include your top 10 films of 2014 down below. Cheers.